Part 110. The deadbolt clicked like a gun cocking. My suitcase was half-zipped on the tile, one wheel crooked, like it already knew I wasn't coming back. Mom stood in the doorway with her arms crossed so tight her gold bracelets bit into her skin. Behind her, the whole house glowed warm. Kitchen lights, Christmas garlands still hung up even though it was March. The smell of pot roast trapped in the air like nothing was happening. Like I wasn't being evicted from my own childhood. "You need to go," she said, voice flat, not angry. Worse, certain. I lifted my phone between us. The screen was bright in the dark hall, my thumb still hovering over the screenshot. "Before I do," I said, "just tell me one thing." My sister Talia leaned around Mom's shoulder, mouth curled like she was watching a show she'd already spoiled for herself. Mom didn't blink. "Don't do this, Maya." I swallowed once. My throat scraped. Why is there a transfer from my savings to Talia's account for $9,800? Talia laughed under her breath, like I'd asked why water was wet. Mom's eyes flicked to the phone and away. "Put that down." I didn't. I angled it so she couldn't pretend she hadn't seen it. ACH transfer, 221, $9,800, Talia R. And below it, another line. Wire, 203, $4,500, Marrow & Co., a law firm. Not ours. Mom stepped forward fast and shoved my phone down with 2 fingers like it was filthy. "You're not going to stand here and accuse your sister of stealing, not after everything we've done for you." "Done for me?" My voice cracked, sharp and humiliating. "That money was mine. Dad left it for me. You said it was safe." At the mention of Dad, Mom's mouth tightened the way it always did, like saying his name tasted metallic. From the living room, someone whispered, "Oh my God," like they were watching a car crash and trying not to stare. I turned. My Aunt Janelle was sitting on the couch, clutching a wineglass with both hands. My stepdad Rick stood behind her with his jaw set, arms locked, already positioned like security. And there, at the dining table, Grandma's carved wooden chair sat empty, a place that should have belonged to the one person who would have told the truth. But Grandma had been gone 6 months. And the day after the funeral, the family started moving like a business. Mom pointed at the door. "We are not doing this tonight." I looked at her, really looked. The neat hair, the calm, the way she didn't ask what transfers, because she already knew. "Talia," I said, turning to my sister, "just say you didn't." Talia stepped out fully now, and the hallway light hit the gloss on her lips. She held her phone in one hand, casually, like she'd been waiting for the cue. "I didn't steal anything," she said. "You're spiraling again." "Spiraling," I repeated, almost laughing. "That's your word? Not confused or mistaken. Spiraling." Mom's voice rose finally like she decided to perform. "You have been paranoid since the funeral. You interrogate everyone. You dig through paperwork like you're the FBI. You are tearing this family apart." Rick shifted behind her. "Maya, don't make this ugly." "Don't make it ugly?" I held up the phone again, higher this time, so even Aunt Janelle could see. "This is ugly." Mom's face hardened. "What you're doing is accusing people who love you, over money." "Over my life," I snapped. "Over the account you told me you were helping manage because I was too emotional after Dad died." Talia sighed like I was a toddler throwing peas. "You asked Mom to help. You signed the paperwork." "I signed a temporary access form," I said, and my hands started shaking, betraying me. "For bills. For Dad's hospital stuff. Not for you to drain it." Mom's eyes flashed. "Lower your voice." "No." That one word turned the air electric. Mom leaned in close enough that I smelled her perfume, powdery and expensive. "You are embarrassing us," she hissed. "You're doing this in front of family. You want to ruin your sister's reputation because you can't handle grief." "My reputation?" Talia put a hand on her chest in mock shock. "Maya, you're literally acting insane." Aunt Janelle's eyes widened at the word insane, but she didn't correct it. She just stared into her wine. Rick stepped forward. "Give me the phone." I pulled it back. "Touch me and I'll call the cops." He stopped, but his smile came out anyway, slow and thin. "Call them. Tell them you're accusing your mother and sister with, what, screenshots?" I stared at him. "Not just screenshots." Mom flinched at that, just a tiny movement like a muscle misfired. Talia noticed it too. Her smile slipped for half a second before she forced it back into place. Mom took a breath and lifted her chin, like she was about to deliver a verdict. "We are done with this. You can either apologize and stop attacking your sister, or you can leave." My stomach dropped, even though I knew the answer before she said it. She was choosing her. Again, if you've ever been betrayed by family, I said quietly, you know this feeling. Like the floor disappears, but you're still standing. Mom's eyes narrowed. Don't be dramatic. Talia's voice went sweet. Just go, Maya. You're ruining the family. There it was. The line they'd rehearsed. The label they could slap on me so they didn't have to answer the question on my screen. I looked past them into the house, at the framed photos on the wall. Dad in his old denim jacket. Me at 16 with braces. Talia in a prom dress Mom still bragged about. A family timeline built on selective memory. My hand tightened on my phone. I hit the side button and the screen went dark. Okay, I said, and my voice surprised me. Calm. I'll go. Mom's shoulders relaxed like she'd won. Talia's smile brightened like she could already taste the relief. I bent, grabbed the suitcase handle, and the wheel squealed as I dragged it toward the porch. Mom stepped back into the doorway and didn't offer a hug. Didn't say she loved me, just watched like I was a stranger who'd wandered in and caused trouble. I crossed the threshold. Cold air hit my face. The porch light buzzed overhead, and then my phone vibrated hard in my palm, one sharp, angry pulse. A notification slid across my locked screen. Transfer confirmed, $2,500 from Maya L. to Talia R. 11:47 p.m. I hadn't touched my bank app in hours. I stared at the message until the numbers blurred. Inside the house, I heard Talia laugh again, soft, careless. And Mom's voice, lower now, relieved. She'll calm down. She always does. I tightened my grip on the suitcase handle until my knuckles went white. Because this time, I wasn't calming down. I was collecting proof. End of part 110. My car smelled like stale fries in panic. I slammed the door, locked it, then locked it again like the second click could keep their voices out of my head. The porch light behind me flickered once, and through the windshield I saw Mom still standing in the doorway, arms folded like she'd just taken out the trash. I put the key in the ignition. My phone vibrated again. Transfer confirmed, $2,500 from Maya L. to Talia R. 11:47 p.m. I held my breath and opened my banking app. Login screen, password, Face ID, then a red banner I'd never seen before. Security notice, new trusted device added. Under it, a list of devices, my iPhone and another one, iPhone 14 Pro Talia's. My stomach lurched so hard it felt like my body had missed a step. No, I whispered. No, I tapped into recent activity. The transfers stacked like a staircase. $2,500, $1,200, $9,800, $750. Little bites, big bites, all flowing one direction. And the recipient name wasn't even Talia on half of them anymore. It was Talia R., trust operating. My fingers went numb. I hit account details. My address changed. My email changed. The recovery phone number changed to a number I didn't recognize. I stared at it long enough for anger to burn clean through the shock. Then I hit call bank. A recording chirped about wait times. I didn't care. I pressed the phone to my ear and watched the house through the glass like it might sprout legs and chase me. A rep picked up, cheerful. Thank you for calling. How can I help today? My account's being drained, I said. Right now? Her tone shifted instantly. Okay, I'm going to ask a few security questions. Don't, I cut in. If you send a code, it'll go to whoever changed my recovery number. I'm locked out of my own account. A pause. Keys clicking. What's the last 4 of your social? I rattled it off, throat tight. And your mother's maiden name? Caldwell. More clicking. Okay, she said slowly. I see a profile update log today at 8:12 p.m. The authorized user made changes in person at a branch. In person? I sat up straighter. What branch? I'm not able to. Tell me, I said, voice low, because it wasn't me. The rep hesitated like she could hear the truth in my breath. Maplewood, she said. Maplewood branch. Maplewood was 5 minutes from my mom's house. My hands started shaking so hard I dropped the phone into my lap. Ma'am, the rep continued, the changes were made with a government ID and a signed authorization form. It appears your account is currently listed as what? I snapped. As a joint account. The word landed like a slap. Joint meant not fraud in their eyes. Joint meant consent. I never added anyone, I said. I never signed that. I understand, she said, but her voice had slipped into policy. If it's a joint account, the other party has legal access to transfer funds. My throat burned. Then freeze it, right now. I can place a temporary hold while we open an investigation, but if there is a valid joint owner, freeze it, I repeated. And email me the activity log, the device list, the profile change history, everything. She inhaled like she was about to say no. I didn't give her room. My father died and left me that money, I said. And someone in my family is taking it while they're calling me crazy. I need proof. Silence. Then, softer. Okay, I'm opening a case. Can you come into a branch tomorrow with identification? I can come tonight, I said. It's almost midnight. I'll be there when you open. When she finally agreed, I ended the call and sat in the dark with my hands on the steering wheel like I was bracing for impact. Then I did the one thing Mom always hated. I texted the person she couldn't control. You awake? Yeah. What's wrong? Did you ever see Grandma's file box after the funeral? The one she kept in the coat closet? Mom said she took care of it. Why? Because my account is being emptied and they're saying I'm ruining the family. What? I need to know if Mom took Grandma's papers. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Hold on. Don't freak out. I have something. I stared at the screen, heart hammering. Ray sent a photo. It was grainy, like a screenshot pulled from a video. The timestamp in the corner said FAB 20 sec, 7:58 p.m. In the frame, my mom on Grandma's front porch carrying a plastic tote, and behind her, Talia, dragging the familiar blue file box with Grandma's faded label tape, handwritten in block letters, Maya, do not touch. My mouth went dry. I zoomed in until the pixels broke. It was the same box Grandma used to slap shut whenever Mom tried to organize it. The same box Grandma once told me, if anything happens, that box is yours. Don't let them sweet talk you out of it. My vision blurred. Where did you get this? Neighbor's ring cam. She sent it to me because she thought it was weird. Your mom told everyone she was just cleaning up. Do you have the video? I can get it, but Maya? What? I heard Mom talking to Aunt Janelle. She said you can't be trusted with money, and they're making it official. Making it official. The law firm transfer flashed in my head. Marrow & Co. I opened my email and searched Marrow. Nothing. Then I searched Caldwell, Mom's maiden name. One result popped up from 2 weeks ago, a forwarded email I hadn't noticed because it was buried under funeral thank you notes and bills. Subject line, client intake, L. Caldwell / family asset protection. My finger hovered, then tapped. A PDF attachment sat beneath it like a loaded weapon. Draft, petition for conservatorship. My pulse climbed into my ears. Conservatorship meant they weren't just taking my money. It meant they were about to take my right to fight. I plugged my phone into the charger, hands unsteady, and opened the PDF. The first page loaded. My name in bold. My address, Mom's address. And right under reason for petition, a sentence that made my stomach drop. Subject exhibits escalating paranoia and delusional accusations toward family members. I stared at the words until they felt like they were written on my skin. Then another page loaded. A list of supporting evidence. And there, in black and white, bank statements indicating financial mismanagement. I let out a sound that wasn't a sob, wasn't a laugh. It was just air leaving me, thin and furious, because they weren't only stealing. They were building a story, and they were about to tell it to a judge. End of part 210. Part 310. The Maplewood branch opened at 9. I was there at 8:30, parked crooked, makeup smeared from sleeping in my car. The glass doors reflected a woman I barely recognized, hair shoved into a knot, eyes swollen, jaw set like it was holding something back. Inside, a security guard watched me pace the lobby. Outside, my phone kept buzzing. Family group chat. Calls. Missed calls. Then a text from Ray. Ray got the full ring video. Sending after I blur the neighbor's address. Also, your mom's car is at Maplewood. My stomach tightened. I turned toward the parking lot. Mom's SUV was there, perfectly centered between the lines, like she'd had time to breathe. Next to it, Talia's white coupe, clean as a showroom. Of course they were here. They weren't going to let me talk to anyone alone. At 8:58, the automatic doors slid open. The guard nodded me in. The smell of sanitizer and printer ink hit me like a hospital memory. I walked to the counter and said, I need the branch manager. Now. The teller gave me a smile that looked trained. Do you have an appointment? No. I slid my ID across the counter. And someone added a joint owner to my account in this branch last night. I have a fraud case number. Her smile flickered. She typed, looked up. Her eyes softened, just slightly. Please have a seat. I didn't sit. I stood by the velvet rope and watched the doors like a hawk. At 9:03, Mom and Talia walked in together. Mom wore a cream trench coat and pearl studs like she was headed to church. Talia had sunglasses on inside, big, dark, expensive, like she didn't want anyone to see her eyes. They spotted me and smiled like we were meeting for brunch. Maya, Mom said, voice warm enough to fool strangers. Oh, honey? Talia clicked her tongue. You really did come. I didn't move. Why are you here? Mom stepped closer, hands open, palms up. To help you. You scared us last night. You were. Don't, I said. A couple in line glanced over. Mom lowered her voice immediately, the way you do when you're trying to look reasonable. We didn't sleep, she whispered. We've been so worried. You're not thinking clearly. I stared at her face, at the calm, at the control, the way she'd practiced these lines. Show me the papers, I said. Talia laughed softly. Oh my God. See? This is what I mean. Mom's eyes darted to the teller windows. Not here. Here is perfect, I said. You like witnesses. Talia shifted, and for the first time she looked irritated. You're acting like we're criminals. You are, I said. You took my money. Mom's lips pressed tight. Lower your voice. No. That word again. A man in a suit stepped out from a side office with a badge clipped to his belt. Branch manager. He looked between us and immediately chose the safest tone. Miss Lewis? He asked. That's me, I said, stepping forward before Mom could. I opened a case last night. Someone changed my profile here. Mom cut in smoothly. I'm her mother, Laura Caldwell. We're just trying to support her. She's been having a very hard time since her father passed. The manager's eyes flicked to her like she'd handed him a script. I heard it then. How easy it sounded. How believable. I forced my voice steady. Please speak to me privately. Without them. Mom's smile didn't move, but her eyes sharpened. Maya, I'm the account holder, I said louder. You're not. The manager hesitated, then nodded. Miss Lewis, come with me. Mom's hand shot out and caught my wrist. Her nails were freshly done, pale pink, digging in like a warning. Don't do this, she murmured through her smile. You'll regret it. I looked down at her hand, then back up. Let go. For a second, she didn't. Then she released me like it was my fault her grip existed at all. I followed the manager into a glass office. The door clicked shut. Mom and Talia stayed outside, visible through the window, two silhouettes in perfect posture, watching. The manager opened my file on his screen. I'm going to be direct, he said quietly. A joint owner was added in person yesterday evening. Documents were signed. ID was presented. I wasn't here, I said. I was at home. I have location history. I have. He held up a hand. I'm not accusing you. I'm telling you what the system shows. Show me the signature, I said. He clicked, then turned the screen halfway toward me. A scanned form, my name printed, my account number, a signature at the bottom that was almost mine. Almost. The loops were wrong. The pressure. The way the M started too sharp. My chest went cold. That's not my signature, I said. He nodded slowly like he'd already suspected. Can I have a copy? I asked. I can't release internal documents without a subpoena, he said. But I can add a note to the case, and I can restrict new devices from being added without in-person verification. What about the funds already transferred? He exhaled. If there is a joint owner, the bank considers those authorized transactions. My teeth clenched. Who is the joint owner? He didn't answer right away. His eyes shifted toward the window, toward my mother. Then he typed something, turned the screen again. Joint owner, Laura Caldwell, my mom. My hands curled into fists so tight my nails bit skin. She told me she was helping manage, I said, voice hollow. She told me it was temporary access. The manager's face stayed neutral, but his tone softened. If you believe the joint ownership was added fraudulently, you need legal counsel immediately, and you should secure your personal documents. Personal documents. The blue file box flashed in my mind. I stood so fast the chair scraped. Can you freeze transfers out of my account? I can place a hold that requires two-party approval, he said. But if she's joint owner, she can come in and remove the hold. Of course she could. I walked out of the office. Mom stepped forward instantly, like she'd been waiting for her cue. There you are, she said sweetly. See? This is what I mean. You're escalating. I looked at her and felt something settle in me, hard, quiet. You forged my signature, I said. Talia scoffed. Nobody forged anything. Mom cut her off, still smiling. We did what we had to do. What does that mean? I asked. Mom's eyes held mine, unblinking. It means you're not stable right now, and we're protecting you from yourself. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A new notification. Incoming email. Marrow & Co. Law. Notice of filing. My blood went ice. I opened it. 2 lines of text. Petition filed this morning. Hearing set. And attached beneath it, temporary emergency order. Pending. I lifted my eyes. Mom's smile widened. Just a fraction. Talia leaned in, voice low and thrilled. Check your mailbox next, she whispered. You're gonna love what's coming. End of part 310. Part 410. I didn't feel my legs carry me out of the bank. I just remember the cold hitting my face, the parking lot too bright, Mom's heels clicking behind me like she owned the ground I was standing on. Maya, she called, still sweet, still public. Come home. We'll talk like adults. I kept walking. Talia's laugh followed me. She can't. She's in one of her episodes. I got into my car and locked the doors so fast my fingers slipped on the button. My chest was tight, like my ribs had shrunk overnight. I opened the attachment from Marrow & Co. Temporary emergency order, pending. My eyes skimmed the headers, the court seal, the words that felt like a trap closing. Then I saw the part that made my stomach flip. Proposed temporary conservator, Laura Caldwell. Request, immediate authority over subject's finances and medical decisions. Medical decisions. I exhaled through my teeth. Oh my God. A shadow crossed my window. I looked up. Mom, bent at the waist, tapping her nails against my glass like she was tapping a fishbowl. Roll it down, she mouthed. I shook my head. Her smile thinned. She pointed at her phone, then made a little call me gesture, like we were just having a miscommunication. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Stop this. You're humiliating yourself. Then a second text, immediately after. Unnumber. We have witnesses. My hands went cold. I stared at the screen. No name. No context. Just threat dressed like concern. I started the car, put it in reverse, and backed out so hard the tires chirped. Mom didn't move. She just watched me leave like she'd already decided how this ended. I drove to the only place I could think to breathe, a 24-hour diner off Route 8. Neon sign buzzing, coffee that tasted like metal, booths that had absorbed decades of other people's secrets. Ray slid in across from me 5 minutes later, hoodie up, hair still damp from a rushed shower. She looked at my face and didn't ask for the full story, just set her phone on the table like an offering. I pulled it, she said. Full ring footage. She hit play. The video showed Grandma's porch at dusk, wide angle. Wind chimes moving. Then Mom stepped into frame, carrying a tote like she was doing a favor. Talia followed, dragging the blue file box with both hands, struggling with the weight. The label was clear. Maya, do not touch. Talia paused at the steps, glanced around, then looked straight into the camera, right at it, like she could feel she was being watched. She smirked. Then she mouthed something to Mom. No audio, but Ray zoomed in and I could read it. She won't do anything. Mom didn't even look worried. She just nodded and kept moving. My throat tightened so hard it hurt. They took it like it was already theirs. Ray's jaw clenched. It gets worse. She scrubbed forward. A second clip, same porch later that night. Different angle from the neighbor's driveway. Mom's SUV idled at the curb. Rick stood by the trunk, arms crossed, scanning the street. Talia slid the file box into the back like she was loading contraband. Then Mom said something. This angle had audio. Not perfect, but clear enough. Mom's voice. If she starts sniffing around, we file. We make it medical. Judges love concerned mother. Talia. And her money? Safe. Under me. Where it belongs. Ray paused it. The diner felt too loud all of a sudden. Forks clinking, a baby crying somewhere, a waitress laughing at a joke that wasn't funny. My hands shook around my coffee mug. That's them. That's her voice. Ray nodded. Time stamped, location stamped. The neighbor will sign an affidavit if needed. My eyes stung, but I forced them dry. Crying was for later. Right now, I needed traction. I need a lawyer, I said. Ray leaned in. I called one, not Marrow & Co., someone who handles contested conservatorships. My head snapped up. You did? She picked up, Ray said. She said if they filed an emergency petition, they're going to try to serve you fast. Keep you off balance. Like I didn't already feel like the world was tilted. My phone buzzed again. This time it was my bank app. Alert, hold removed, transfers enabled. My stomach dropped through the booth. What? No, I whispered. No. I opened it. The hold the manager promised, gone. And underneath, a fresh transaction pending. Wire initiated, $15,000, pay Marrow & Co. Law. Ray's face drained. They're paying their lawyer with your money. I slid the phone across the table. They're doing it right now. Ray grabbed her own phone. Call the bank back. They'll say joint owner, I said, voice sharpening. They'll say authorized. Ray's fingers flew anyway, dialing. I watched the wire pending like it was a countdown. Then my phone lit up with a new notification. Email. From Maplewood Municipal Court. Subject notice of hearing. Emergency petition. I tapped it. Hearing date, Friday, 9 a.m. 3 days. And then, right as I finished reading, the diner door opened and a man walked in wearing a navy jacket and carrying a flat cardboard envelope. He scanned the room. His eyes landed on me like he'd been trained for it. He walked straight to our booth. May I speak with Maya Lewis? He asked. My mouth went dry. Ray sat up, protective. Who are you? The man held up the envelope. I'm a process server. My heartbeat went so loud I could barely hear him. You've been served, he said, and set the envelope on the table like he was setting down a verdict. Through the clear plastic window on the front, I saw the first page. In the matter of Maya Lewis, emergency conservatorship. And below it, in the section titled Requested Restrictions, one line jumped off the page so hard it felt like it punched me. Subject to be taken into protective custody for psychiatric evaluation if non-compliant. Ray grabbed my hand under the table. The server nodded once. Professional, already turning away. I stared at the packet until the words blurred, until I realized this wasn't just about money anymore. This was about getting me labeled, silenced, and removed. Ray whispered, Maya, we have to move. Like, now. I didn't answer, because my phone buzzed one more time. Another bank alert. Wire completed, $15,000, Marrow & Co. Law. And for a second, everything in me went very, very still. End of part 410. Sure. Part 510. Ray didn't let me sit with the papers. She snatched the packet, shoved it into her tote, and slid out of the booth like the diner floor was on fire. Keys, she said. I can't go home, I murmured, still staring at the completed wire on my screen like it might reverse itself out of guilt. No, Ray said. You can't go anywhere they can predict. Outside, the air was sharp and damp. My car felt suddenly unsafe, like Mom could be watching it on an app the same way she watched my bank account. Ray drove. I kept my phone in my lap, refreshing the bank page until my eyes ached. Another alert popped up. Transfer pending. $3,000. Payee. Talia R. I let out a small sound. Ray glanced over, jaw tight. We're going to the lawyer. Don't answer any calls. Don't open the door for anybody. If anyone says they're checking on you, you record it. Record it, I echoed. Always, she said, because they're writing a story about you. You need to write one back, with timestamps. The lawyer's office was above a Pilates studio, all frosted glass and clean lines that made me feel like I'd walked into a place where people still believed rules mattered. Her name was Danica Holt, late 30s, black blazer. Hair pulled back tight like she didn't have time for nonsense. She didn't waste a second on sympathy. She took the process server packet, flipped through it, and tapped a page with her pen. Emergency petition, she said. Classic. If they can make you look unstable fast, they can move money faster. Ray slid her phone across the desk. We have ring footage and audio. Danica plugged it in. Watched. Listened. Mom's voice filled the small office. We make it medical. Judges love concerned mother. Danica's expression didn't change, but her eyes sharpened like a blade finding bone. That, she said quietly, is not a concerned mother. That's a plan. I swallowed. They already wired $15,000 to their lawyer. Danica nodded once. We file an emergency objection today. Motion to dismiss, motion to compel accounting, and a request for a temporary restraining order on your funds. Can you stop the bank? I asked. I can't magic wand a joint account, she said. But I can make a judge order it frozen, and I can ask for sanctions if they're using your money to pay counsel while claiming you can't manage it. Ray leaned forward. What about the protective custody line? Danica tapped that section. This is meant to scare you into compliance. You do not go anywhere alone. You do not open your door to police without a warrant, and you do not say anything unrecorded to your mother. My mouth went dry. So what do I do? Danica slid a legal pad toward me and started writing in block letters like a checklist for survival. 1. New bank account today. Different institution. 2. Freeze credit. All bureaus. 3. Change passwords, email first. 4. Document everything, screenshots, call logs, texts. 5. Safe address where you cannot be served with surprise wellness checks. She underlined the last one twice. You have somewhere to stay that isn't your mother's, she said. Ray answered before I could. My place. She can have the guest room. Danica nodded. Good, and we need receipts beyond ring footage. I pulled my phone out, hands shaking, and opened my location timeline. I can prove I wasn't at Maplewood when the joint owner was added, I said. My GPS shows me at home. Danica's pen paused. Excellent. Export it. Now. I did. Email sent, the little swoosh icon feeling like the first breath I'd taken in days. Then Ray slid her phone over again. And I have the neighbor ready to sign an affidavit, she said. She's not afraid of Laura. Danica's eyes flicked up. Get it notarized, today. I nodded, head spinning. And the file box, I said, voice tight. My grandma's file box. They stole it. Danica's gaze held mine. What was in it? I don't know everything, I admitted, but Grandma kept it locked. She labeled it for me. Danica was quiet for a beat then. If they took documents relevant to inheritance, trust accounts, or ownership, especially if they're filing conservatorship, there's a reason. They're either hiding something or they're about to use it. My stomach turned. Ray suddenly snapped her fingers like she'd remembered a nightmare detail. Wait, Maya, didn't your grandma put an AirTag on her keys after she got locked out of the house? My head lifted slowly. Grandma, tapping her purse and grumbling, if I lose anything, it'll be my head. I remembered the tiny white disc she'd shown me, proud like she'd invented the internet. I breathed. She did. She put one on the blue box, too. Danica's eyes widened for the first time. You're sure? I saw it, I said, already unlocking my phone. She said it was because Mom had sticky fingers? Ray made a sound between a laugh and a gasp. Of course she did. I opened Find My. My hands trembled so much I had to try twice. Items. And there it was. Blue box. Little suitcase icon. The location pin loaded, and my stomach dropped. Not my mom's house. Not Grandma's. Not Talia's apartment. A strip of highway. A cluster of warehouses. Danica leaned over my shoulder. What is that? Ray's voice went thin. That's a storage facility. Off county line. I zoomed in until the map snapped into focus. County line storage, building C. The dot moved. Just a little. Like it was in a car. My phone vibrated with another text from the unknown number. Unknown number. Stop running. You're going to embarrass yourself in court. Danica held out her hand. That number. Send it to me. We can subpoena carrier records. But right now, she pointed at the map. Right now, you have a live tracker on the documents they don't want you to see. Ray grabbed her keys from the desk like she'd been waiting for permission. We go. Danica's voice cut sharp. You do not confront them alone. You do not trespass. You do not touch anything without witnesses. Ray froze. So what? We just watch them hide it. Danica stared at the map, thinking fast. You watch. You record. If the item enters a unit, we file an emergency motion for preservation of evidence and request law enforcement standby for retrieval. My pulse roared. What if they destroy it before that? Danica's gaze met mine. Calm, brutal. Then we catch them destroying it. Ray drove like the road was personal. I sat in the passenger seat with Find My open, watching the dot glide closer, until the pin settled at county line storage. We pulled into the lot and cut the headlights. Rows of metal doors stretched like teeth. A security camera blinked red above the gate. Ray whispered, "Tell me you see that." Across the lot, under a buzzing lamp, Mom's SUV sat idling. Rick stood by the open trunk. And Talia, sunglasses off now, was hauling something heavy toward a unit door. Not the blue file box, a black trash bag. She yanked it up, and for a split second, the plastic tore. Paper edges flashed white inside. My throat locked. Ray's phone lifted, recording. And then Mom appeared in the frame, turning, scanning the lot, eyes sweeping. Until they landed directly on our car. End of part 5. Part 610. Mom didn't walk toward us right away. She just stood there under that buzzing lamp, one hand on her SUV door, staring at our dark car like she was deciding whether to make a scene or make a call. Rick leaned in and said something to her. He didn't look panicked. He looked prepared. Talia froze mid-step with the torn trash bag hanging from her hand. White paper corners peeked through the rip like teeth. Ray's phone stayed lifted, recording from the shadow of the dashboard. "Don't move," Ray breathed. I didn't. I barely blinked. My whole body locked into the tiny space between the seatbelt and the door. Mom lifted her own phone. Even from this distance, I could tell who she was calling. Not me, because my phone didn't ring. Instead, it vibrated with another text from the unknown number. Unknown number. This is harassment. Leave. Ray's jaw clenched. That's her. Keep filming, I whispered. Mom tilted her head, listening, then spoke into the phone. Calm, practiced, the voice she used with doctors and funeral directors. I'm at County Line Storage, she said. Yes, she found us. She's in the lot. My stomach flipped. Ray mouthed 911. No, I whispered back, barely sound. If cops show up, she'll turn it into a wellness check. Ray didn't argue. She just zoomed in tighter, the camera catching Mom's profile and the shape of her mouth forming words that felt like a script. She's been escalating, Mom continued. Delusional. Accusatory. I'm afraid she's going to do something. I stared at her like I'd never seen her before. She wasn't just lying. She was building a reason. Rick stepped away from the trunk and walked toward Talia. He took the trash bag from her hands and tied it off like he'd done it 100 times. Then he handed her something small and metallic, a padlock. Talia turned toward the storage unit door. Building C, row of doors. She slid the bag inside the unit and shoved it deeper with her foot. Ray whispered, "Get the unit number." I leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. The metal doors were labeled in black. C112, C114. Talia's body blocked the number. Mom's head snapped slightly, eyes darting back to our car. She ended the call. Then she started walking, straight at us. Ray's hand tightened on the steering wheel. Maya? Don't drive yet, I said, throat tight. Let her talk. Let her say something. Mom stopped at Ray's window and tapped twice, polite like she wasn't the one filing to control my life. Ray didn't roll it down. Mom smiled anyway. Hi, Ray. Ray's eyes stayed cold. Laura. Mom's gaze slid to me. Maya. Get out of the car. I kept my phone low, recording audio, the screen dark so she wouldn't see. I'm not getting out, I said. Mom's smile widened like she'd been waiting for that exact line. See? This is what I mean. You're hiding. You're stalking us. I'm watching you destroy my documents, I said. Mom tilted her head, voice dripping patience. Sweetheart, those aren't your documents. They're family documents, and you're not well enough to handle them right now. Ray laughed once, sharp. You're at a storage unit at midnight with trash bags, Laura. Mom didn't even flinch. We're cleaning. You know Maya can't tolerate clutter. It triggers her. My skin went hot. I never said that, I snapped. Mom sighed like I'd proven her point. Lower your voice. No, I said again. Her eyes hardened for the first time tonight. Maya, you were served. You have a hearing Friday. If you keep doing this, showing up places, recording people, do you know what happens? I forced my voice steady. Tell me. Mom leaned closer to the glass. A judge signs an order, and if you refuse to cooperate, they can take you somewhere safe. Somewhere safe. That phrase made my stomach turn. I heard Ray inhale, slow and furious. Mom kept going, sweet again. So, be smart. Come home. Apologize. Stop humiliating your sister. From across the lot, Talia called. Mom, hurry. Mom didn't look away from me. Last chance. I stared at her through the glass and felt something in me go ice cold and clean. Say it again, I said quietly. Say you're trying to get me taken. Mom's smile flickered. She realized too late that I wasn't begging. I was collecting. Her chin lifted. I'm trying to get you help. By stealing my money and paying your lawyer? I said. Her eyes narrowed. You don't understand adult finances. Ray's laugh came out ugly. You wired 15 grand out of her account last night. Mom's lips pressed tight. Maya consented to my access. You forged my signature, I said. Mom straightened. Her voice dropped colder now. Prove it. Behind her, Rick called. Laura. Mom stepped back, still smiling like this was a family argument and not a crime scene. As she walked away, she added, almost casually, And Maya? If you try to break into that unit, I'll call the police myself. And I'll tell them you're a danger. She said it like she was offering advice. Then she turned and crossed the lot. Ray exhaled like she'd been holding her breath underwater. We got that. Please tell me we got that. I checked my phone. Recording still running. Audio clear. Mom's voice crisp. They can take you somewhere safe. Ray whispered. Unit number. Unit number. We watched from the car as Talia finished locking the unit. She spun the padlock, tugged it once, then stepped aside. For half a second, the label was visible. Ray zoomed in hard. The camera shook. Then the numbers snapped into focus. C1117. My pulse slammed. Ray froze the frame and took a screenshot. Then another, and another. Each one showing Talia's hands on the lock, Mom in the background, Rick by the SUV, timestamp in the corner. Receipts. Not feelings. Not guesses. Receipts. Mom climbed into her SUV. The headlights flared. As they pulled out, Talia's coupe followed behind, tires crunching gravel, both cars rolling past us slow. Mom didn't wave. She just looked through our windshield like she was memorizing my face for court. When they turned onto the road and disappeared, the lot went quiet, except for the hum of cameras and the distant highway. My phone vibrated again. A new email from Danica. Subject, emergency motion filed. Need one more thing. I opened it with shaking fingers. Do you have any proof Laura intends to use police psychiatric hold as leverage? I stared at the words, then at my recording timer. Still running. I hit send. Attachment audio 0304 road112.m4a. And in the stillness of that storage lot, my phone pinged one more time. Find my blue box. Moving. The dot slid off county line storage, heading somewhere else. Fast. End of part 610. Part 7/10. The AirTag dot moved like it had someplace to be. Ray kept the engine off, dashboard lights dimmed, my phone held between us like a compass. The blue circle slid off county line storage, paused at the exit, then merged onto the highway. Screenshot everything, Ray said. I did. 1, 2, 3. Each shot caught the timestamp at the top of my screen, 12:31 a.m., and the pin labeled blue box drifting south. We pulled out 2 minutes later, far enough back that our headlights wouldn't announce us. The dots sped up. Talia drove like she always did, fast, entitled, like the rules were for other people. The AirTag pinged again. Then, nothing. Last seen, 12:36 a.m. My stomach tightened. It went offline. Or it's in a place that blocks signal, Ray said, jaw hard. Parking garage. Building. I stared at the frozen map. The last pin sat near a cluster of offices and warehouses, one exit before downtown. Ray didn't ask. She turned the wheel toward Ray's apartment instead. You're not sleeping alone tonight, she said. And you're not waking up to cops at your door. I swallowed. She's going to try that. She already did, Ray said. What? Ray tossed her phone onto my lap. A missed call, 10 minutes old. Unknown number, 12:24 a.m. Then a voicemail transcription underneath. Ray, this is Laura. If you're with Maya, you need to bring her home. She's spiraling. If you don't, I'll have to call for help. My hands went cold. She left a paper trail, Ray said. Good. At Ray's place, we turned the guest room into a war room. Laptop open, printer humming. My phone plugged in, still showing the AirTag as a silent dot with a stale timestamp. Ray made a folder on her desktop and named it like a case file. Lewis. Receipts. Inside, subfolders. Bank ring cam, audio, court text, find my. I emailed everything to myself and to Danica. Screenshots, audio, the process server packet scanned page by page. Ray dragged my bank transactions into a spreadsheet and highlighted the biggest hits in neon yellow. Look at the pattern, she murmured. They didn't just take random amounts. They took strategic. She pointed. $9,800, 2 days after Grandma's funeral reception. $4,500, the law firm. $15,000, the wire that cleared tonight. Then smaller transfers, sprinkled like smoke. My throat tightened. So it looks like I'm spending. Like you're impulsive, Ray said. Like you're proving their petition. I opened the petition again, hands steady now in a way they hadn't been at the diner. Escalating paranoia. Financial mismanagement. Refuses family support. They'd written my resistance like a symptom. Ray leaned over my shoulder and zoomed into the signature page. That's not you. No, I said, but it's close enough to fool someone who wants to believe it. My phone buzzed. Email from Danica. Good. Preserve everything. Do not contact your mother. 2 things tonight. 1, call non-emergency and request a note be placed. Potential malicious wellness check. You are safe. Represented by counsel. 2, download full bank statements as PDFs. Every page. Ray didn't wait for me to panic. She put the call on speaker. A dispatcher answered. Ray spoke calmly, clipped. My cousin is safe and with me. Her mother is filing an emergency conservatorship and has threatened police involvement. We want it documented that any wellness check request may be retaliatory. She is represented by counsel. A pause. Then, name and address. Ray gave hers. The dispatcher said, if officers are dispatched, cooperate. Ray thanked her, hung up, then stared at me. We just planted our own receipt. My fingers trembled as I downloaded statements, page after page, each one stamped with date, account number, and the same ugly truth. When I hit save, I named the file Exhibit A, Transfers. Because that's what it was now, evidence. At 2:07 a.m., Ray's door buzzer went off. We froze. Again, longer this time. Insistent. Ray looked through the peephole and went still. Police. My mouth dried instantly. Ray whispered, record. I started video on my phone and held it low at my side. Ray opened the door halfway. Two officers stood in the hall, faces neutral. One held a small notepad. The other kept his hands visible. Ma'am, the notepad officer said, we got a call requesting a welfare check for Maya Lewis. I stepped into view. I'm Maya, I said, voice even. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth. The officer's gaze flicked over me. No shaking, no slurring, no wild eyes. You okay? He asked. Yes, I said. I'm safe. I'm with family. I'm represented by counsel. The second officer tilted his head. Counsel? Danica Holt, Ray said immediately. Attorney? This is related to a contested conservatorship filing. We called non-emergency earlier to note it might happen. Notepad officer glanced down at his notes. Your mother said you left the house in distress and made threats. I didn't blink. I didn't. I left because she told me to. She's also a joint owner on my account and has been transferring funds out. I have documentation. The officer held up a hand. We're not here about the bank. I know, I said, but the context matters because she's using this as leverage. Notepad officer studied my face for a beat, then softened just slightly. We just need to confirm you're not a danger to yourself or others. I'm not, I said. Are you willing to answer a few questions? Ray's jaw set. Without counsel present, no. The officer nodded like he'd heard that line before. Fair. He looked at me again. Any weapons in the apartment? No, Ray said. Any medical issues we should know about? No, I said, sharper. And I'm not giving you my private health history because my mother asked you to knock. A beat of silence. Then the officer closed his notepad. Okay, we'll note you're safe. As they turned to leave, the second officer paused and said quietly, almost like advice, if there's a court hearing, show up. Don't skip it. I won't, I said. The door shut. Ray locked it twice. Then she leaned her forehead against the wood and let out one shaky breath. She really tried. I stared at my phone screen, still recording, capturing the timestamp in the corner, 2:11 a.m. Another receipt. I ended the video and sent it to Danica immediately. At 3:03 a.m., my AirTag updated. The dot reappeared. Not at the storage unit, not moving on the highway. It was stationary now, downtown, right on top of a building labeled with a name I recognized from the wire transfer. Marrow & Co. Law. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. Ray's voice came out low. They brought Grandma's box to the lawyer. My phone buzzed with a new email from Danica. Subject line, we can set a trap. And beneath it, one sentence that made my pulse jump into my throat. If the box is in their possession, we can force them to produce it, on record before Friday. End of part 710. Part 8/10. Danica didn't celebrate. She read the AirTag location on my phone, Marrow & Co. Law, and immediately started moving like a storm had a schedule. Ray, print every screenshot of that location history, she said into the phone. Maya, forward me the Find My Map link, and nobody goes near that office without paper in hand. I stared at the dot sitting on the law firm like it was mocking me. They have my grandma's box. They have evidence, Danica corrected. And if they touch it after they've been put on notice, it becomes a different kind of problem. Ray's voice came through speaker, sharp. How fast can you put them on notice? Danica didn't answer with words. I heard her keyboard. Then my email pinged. From Danica Holt. Subject, litigation hold, preservation demand, Lewis. Attached, a one-page letter with my name at the top and Marrow & Co.'s address beneath it, bolded like a target. You are hereby instructed to preserve all documents, communications, electronic data, and tangible property, including but not limited to a locked file box labeled Maya, do not touch. My stomach twisted reading it. Danica's voice stayed calm. We serve this today. Process server, not email. Email is too easy to deny. What if they move it before it gets served, I asked. They already moved it, she said. Now we make it risky to move again. She paused. Then, we need one more receipt before we walk into court. At 10:12 a.m., we were back at the Maplewood Bank. This time, Danica came with us. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't plead. She walked in like she belonged there, laid her business card on the counter, and said, "I represent Ms. Lewis. We're filing for emergency relief today. I need the branch manager." The manager, same suit as yesterday, recognized me and looked like he regretted ever answering my questions. He led us into the glass office and shut the door. Danica didn't sit. "How long do you keep surveillance footage?" The manager blinked. "Usually 90 days. "Good," Danica said. "You need to preserve footage from yesterday between 7:30 p.m. and 9 p.m., specifically the moment a joint owner was added to Miss Lewis's account." His eyes flicked to me. "We can't just hand over." "I'm not asking you to hand it over," Danica said. "I'm asking you to preserve it because you will be subpoenaed. If it disappears, I will be asking a judge why." A beat. Then the manager nodded once, like he just accepted a weight. "I'll submit a preservation request to corporate security." Danica slid another paper toward him. "And I need the incident log, branch entry that shows the profile change, ID type presented, and employee ID of the teller who processed it." He hesitated. Danica leaned forward slightly. "This is a conservatorship case. There's an allegation of incapacity. Your institution will want to be on the right side of a forged signature." That did it. He turned to his computer, clicked through screens, and printed 2 pages. He handed them over. At the top, profile maintenance, in person. Then the detail line that made my vision narrow. ID presented driver license. Laura Caldwell. Additional signer. Talia R. Ray sucked in a breath. She was there. I stared at the words until they stopped looking like text and started looking like a confession. Danica didn't react. She just tucked the pages into a folder. "Now," she said, "I'd like you to do one more thing." The manager swallowed. "What?" Danica's pen tapped the paper. "Tell me who helped them. Which teller?" His mouth opened, closed. "I can't," Danica cut in softly. "You can. Because if your employee failed to verify identity properly or accepted falsified paperwork, you will be compelled to say it under oath anyway." The manager's shoulders slumped. He wrote a name on a sticky note and slid it across the desk without speaking. Ray's eyes went hard reading it. I took a photo of the sticky note with my phone. Timestamp visible in the corner. Another receipt. Outside the bank, Ray's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and went pale. Group chat. My family group chat, muted for years, was suddenly active like a revived corpse. Ray tilted it so I could see. "Maya, please pray. She's not in her right mind. Talia, she's been stalking us. I'm scared. Rick, if anyone hears from her, tell her to come home. We just want her safe." Then the line that made my throat seize. "Mom, we may have to involve professionals if she refuses help." Professionals. The same word she used before cops showed up at Ray's door. Danica read it over my shoulder and nodded once. "Good." "Good?" I croaked. "They're documenting their narrative," she said, "so we document ours." She snapped a photo of the chat with her own phone. "We'll authenticate later. For now, we show pattern." Ray whispered, "They're painting you like a threat." Danica's gaze stayed locked forward. "Then we show who's actually moving money and filing paperwork." By noon, Danica had built a binder thick enough to bruise someone. Tabs, labels, exhibits. Exhibit A, bank transfers. Exhibit B, device list, trusted device added. Exhibit C, ring footage audio, we make it medical. Exhibit D, police wellness check video, 2 a.m. Exhibit E, find my AirTag location. Exhibit F, bank incident log, 12 p.m. She slid it across her desk toward me like she was sliding me my spine back. "Here's the trap," she said. Ray leaned in. "Tell us." Danica pointed to Exhibit E. "We allege a specific piece of property, your grandmother's file box, was taken and is being concealed. We show live location data placing it at their counsel's office." She tapped Exhibit A. "We show they used your funds to pay their counsel." She tapped Exhibit C. "We show intent to weaponize mental health and law enforcement." Then she looked at me. "And we ask the court for an emergency preservation order and immediate production of the box for inventory, on the record, before Friday's hearing." My pulse hammered. "Will a judge actually do that today?" Danica's mouth tightened. "If the judge believes evidence is at risk of destruction?" "Yes," Ray asked. "And if Marrow & Co. denies they have it?" Danica's eyes flicked to my phone. To the dot. "Then we make them deny it while it's still pinging from their building." My throat went dry. "So what?" "So we serve them. Danica said, already standing. Then we walk into court, and if we get the order, we don't go alone. At 2:43 p.m., a process server texted Danica a photo. Marrow & Co.'s receptionist desk. The preservation letter on the counter. A hand holding a receipt of service. Served. 2:41 p.m. My stomach flipped. 3 minutes later, my AirTag updated. The dot moved. Not far, just across the building. Like someone had picked up the box and carried it deeper inside. Ray's voice went tight. They're touching it. Danica didn't blink. Let them. I stared at her. What do you mean, let them? Because now, Danica said, grabbing her coat, if they alter or destroy anything after being served, it's not a family dispute. Her eyes met mine, cold and clean. It's contempt. At 4:18 p.m., we stood in a courthouse hallway that smelled like old paper and coffee. Danica walked out of chambers with a single sheet in her hand. She didn't smile. She just held it up so I could see the bold line at the top. Emergency order, preservation and production of property one. Under it, one sentence circled in pen. Respondents and counsel shall produce the referenced file box for immediate inventory. Ray let out a shaky breath. We got it. Danica's voice stayed low. We got a window. My phone buzzed. AirTag updated again. The dot was still inside Marrow & Co. law. Stationary. Waiting. Danica turned toward the elevator. Come on. Ray followed, clutching the binder like a shield. I stepped in last, heart pounding against my ribs. As the elevator rose, Danica said, remember, you don't speak unless I tell you to. You don't react. You let them hang themselves with their own words. The doors opened on the law firm's floor. We walked down a carpeted hallway that felt too quiet, too expensive. Danica stopped at the glass door that read, Marrow & Co., attorneys at law. She knocked once, firm. The door opened, and the first thing I saw wasn't a receptionist. It was my mother, sitting in the waiting area, coat still on, hands folded in her lap like she'd been expecting us, and beside her feet, the blue file box. End of part 810. Part 910. Mom sat in the waiting area like she owned the air. The blue file box was at her feet, perfectly upright, handle facing out, presented. Not hidden anymore. Not a trash bag. A prop. She smiled at Danica. This is really unnecessary. Danica didn't smile back. She lifted the court order and held it like a badge. Laura Caldwell, she said, crisp, you've been ordered to produce that box for immediate inventory. Mom's gaze slid to me, soft and poisonous. Maya, honey, you didn't have to take it this far. Talia stepped out of a side hallway, hair slicked back, eyes bright with anger. Are you kidding? You're bringing a lawyer to our lawyer? Ray's binder hugged her chest like armor. You're sitting next to stolen property in a waiting room, Talia. Don't act offended. A man in a fitted suit appeared behind the glass door, mid-40s, silver hair, confident jaw. He scanned us and landed on Danica's order. Miss Holt, he said, voice smooth. I'm Patrick Marrow. We received your preservation letter. This is theatrics. Danica held up her phone, the Find My dot glowing over his building's address. Your office is currently pinging the AirTag attached to that box. It was served at 2:41 p.m. The location updated at 2:44. Marrow's eyes flicked, just once, toward the box. Mom's smile tightened. We didn't know there was an AirTag. And yet it moved, Danica said. After service. Marrow's jaw ticked. We'll comply, but not in the lobby. Danica's voice sharpened. Conference room. Now. And I want a neutral witness. Marrow's smile became a professional line. We don't allow. The elevator dinged behind us. A uniformed deputy stepped out, calm as gravity. Danica handed him the order. The deputy read it once, nodded, and looked at Marrow. Sir, we're doing an inventory. The color drained from Talia's face in a way she couldn't lipstick over. Mom stood slowly, hands lifted in a performance of hurt. This is humiliating. You chose public, Danica said. We're just bringing light. In the conference room, the box sat in the center of a glossy table like a body. Marrow sat at one end, posture tight. Mom sat beside him, hands folded so neatly it looked practiced. Talia perched on the edge of her chair like she might bolt. The deputy stood near the door, arms relaxed, eyes sharp. Danica slid on gloves. Ray started recording. I kept my hands in my lap because I didn't trust them not to shake. Danica read the label out loud. Maya, do not touch. Mom's voice went airy. My mother wrote that when she was being dramatic. Danica didn't respond. She snapped the lock with a small key she'd brought, court-approved neutral control, and lifted the lid. Inside, folders, envelopes, a small velvet pouch, and a sealed manila packet stamped notarized. Danica pulled the packet first, held it up so the deputy could see the seal, then opened it. A single page on top, dated 2 months before Grandma died. Affidavit of intent, Elaine Lewis. Danica read the first line slow. Open quote. If my daughter Laura Caldwell attempts to access Maya Lewis's funds or portray her as incapacitated, it is because Laura is seeking control, not safety. Close quote. Mom's breath hitched, tiny, involuntary. Talia's head snapped up. That's not, Danica continued. Open quote. Maya is competent. Any petition claiming otherwise is retaliatory. Laura has previously taken money not belonging to her. Close quote. Marrow shifted, hand going to his tie like it suddenly choked him. Mom leaned forward, voice sharp now. That's not her final signature. She was on morphine. Danica slid the page toward the deputy. Notary stamp. Witnessed. The deputy glanced, then nodded once, neutral, unimpressed by Mom's tone. Danica reached into the box again and pulled out a handwritten letter in Grandma's looping pen, sealed in an envelope marked "For Maya, if they try it." She placed it in front of me. My fingers hovered. Danica's voice softened one notch. Open it. I broke the seal. Inside was a letter and a copy of a document with a bank logo at the top. Grandma's letter started with, "Baby girl." The words blurred for half a second, but one sentence came into focus like it was bolded by fate. Your father's settlement is in an account that Laura was never meant to touch. If she's gotten into it, she forged her way in. I swallowed hard. Below it, Grandma had written an account number and a note. This is the original account. Ask for the signature card. Yours is on it. Hers is not. Danica leaned over and slid the bank incident log beside Grandma's note, like two puzzle pieces finally clicking. Your mother created a joint account after the fact, Danica said, using a forged signature and an in-person profile change. Different instrument, different rules. Marrow's face tightened. That's... Danica cut him off. That's fraud. Talia's voice snapped, high and panicked. No one forged anything. She pointed at me like the word crazy was locked in her throat, and she couldn't say it in front of a deputy. Danica didn't even look at her. She pulled out the velvet pouch and tipped it onto the table. A small USB drive clacked against the wood. Label, backup scans, emails. Ray's mouth fell open. Grandma backed everything up. Mom's eyes flicked to it, fast, hungry, terrified, like she knew exactly what was on it. Danica sealed the USB in an evidence bag. Then she closed the box and looked at Marrow. We'll see you Friday. Friday morning, courtroom 3B was packed. Not because our case mattered to the world, because family loved a spectacle when they thought I'd be the one bleeding. Aunt Janelle sat 2 rows behind Mom, lips tight, eyes shiny. Rick sat beside Mom, one arm draped behind her like he was the stable one. Talia wore a blazer and the same glossy lip, but her leg wouldn't stop bouncing. Marrow stood at counsel's table, papers pristine. Danica set our binder down with a quiet thud that sounded like finality. The judge, Judge Alvarez, looked over the bench and read the case caption, Emergency Conservatorship Petition. Mom dabbed at a dry eye with a tissue that had never seen tears. Marrow began. Your Honor, Miss Lewis has been exhibiting. Danica stood. Before counsel characterizes my client's mental health, we'd like to introduce Exhibit C. Marrow's head turned sharply. Objection. Judge Alvarez lifted a hand. I'll hear it. Danica hit play. Mom's voice filled the courtroom, clear as a bell from Ray's recording. If she starts sniffing around, we file. We make it medical. Judges love concerned mother. A ripple went through the room. Gasps, a muffled, oh my God, someone's sharp inhale. Talia's face went white. Mom's tissue stopped mid-dab. Danica didn't pause the audio. It kept going. And her money? Safe, under me, where it belongs. Judge Alvarez's expression changed, subtle but lethal. Miss Caldwell, the judge said slowly, did you say this? Mom's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Marrow tried to recover. Your Honor, that recording could be manipulated. Danica slid Exhibit A forward, highlighted transfers glowing like warning tape. Then let's pair it with bank logs and wired payments to counsel from Miss Lewis's account. Judge Alvarez looked down at the numbers. $15,000 to Marrow & Co. Then looked up at Marrow. Marrow's confidence cracked at the edges. Danica placed the notarized affidavit on the podium. And we have a sworn statement from the decedent, Elaine Lewis, anticipating this exact petition and calling it retaliatory. Aunt Janelle made a sound like a stifled sob. Rick's jaw clenched. Talia whispered, Mom, what did you do? Judge Alvarez's voice came down like a gavel before the gavel. Petition denied on an emergency basis. Funds frozen pending accounting. Miss Caldwell, you are ordered to provide a full financial accounting within 7 days. Mom's face twisted, shock, then rage, then the desperate attempt to look like the victim again. And, Judge Alvarez added, eyes hard, I am referring the question of the signature and account modification to the appropriate authorities. The courtroom went quiet in a way that felt like oxygen leaving. Mom turned her head slowly toward me. Her eyes weren't soft anymore. They were pure hate. As everyone stood, Danica leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Don't look at her. Look at me. We're not done." Because across the aisle, Talia lifted her phone, screen angled away from everyone, toward me, just enough for me to catch a single notification banner before she swiped it away. Credit alert. New account opened. Your name? My blood went cold. End of Part 910. Part 1010. The courthouse emptied like a theater after the final act, people talking too loud, pretending they hadn't come for blood. Danica didn't let me drift. She caught my elbow the second we hit the hallway. Phone. Now. I held it out with fingers that wouldn't stop shaking. Talia's banner notification still burned in my brain. Credit alert. New account opened. Your name. Danica scanned the screen, then looked up. Eyes sharp, voice calm like she'd done this 1,000 times. Identity theft, she said. They didn't get your money, so they're going for your name. Ray was already opening her laptop on the courthouse bench, knees bouncing. I can freeze her credit right now. Do it, Danica said. Then to me. And you're filing an identity theft report today. Not later. Today. If they try to use medical again, we show the pattern. Financial control, retaliation, escalation. My throat felt tight. It was Talia. I know, Danica said, but we don't accuse without paper. Ray started typing, fast. Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. Danica turned toward the courtroom doors where Mom and Rick were still talking to Marrow like they could negotiate reality back into place. Watch, Danica murmured. Marrow took a step back from Mom. His face was tight, professional, but something in him had changed. He wasn't just annoyed. He looked trapped. Mom's hands moved like pleading. Rick's jaw worked like he wanted to bite someone. Then Marrow shook his head once, small, firm, and walked away. Mom stood still in the hallway, frozen, like she'd just been dropped mid-performance with no audience. Her eyes found mine. And she didn't cry. She didn't beg. She smiled. A thin smile with no warmth behind it. Then she mouthed, slow and clear, "You did this." Danica stepped between us like a door closing. "Don't engage." I didn't. I couldn't. Because my phone buzzed again. Another alert. Another cut. Hard inquiry. Retail card. Approved. Ray swore under her breath. They're moving fast. Danica's voice stayed even. So do we. By noon, we were at the police station filing a report. Fluorescent lights, hard chairs, the smell of burnt coffee. The officer taking the report was polite but tired, like he'd heard every version of "my family did this" and never wanted to picture it. Danica did the talking. "This is not a domestic misunderstanding," she said, sliding paperwork across the counter. "There is an attempted conservatorship, documented threats of involuntary evaluation, bank transfers, and now identity theft." The officer's eyes flicked over the court order, the highlighted transfers, the copied bank incident log. Something in his posture shifted, attention sharpening. "You have a suspect?" he asked. Danica's pen tapped the page once. "We have a pattern, and we have a timeline. We're requesting a report number, and we'll be supplementing with documentation." The officer nodded, typed, printed a page. He slid it to me. Case number in bold. Receipt, stamped and official. I held it like a shield. That afternoon, Ray drove me back to my mom's house, only long enough to get what was mine. We didn't go alone. Danica arranged a civil standby. A patrol car sat at the curb while I walked up the porch steps that had kicked me out like I was a stranger. Mom opened the door before I knocked. Her face was calm. Her eyes were mean. "Well," she said softly, "look who brought security." I stared past her into the hallway where my suitcase had been half-zipped 2 nights ago. "I'm here for my things," I said. Mom's gaze flicked to the officer, then back to me. "You can take your clothes. That's it." Danica stepped forward, voice like steel wrapped in velvet. "She will take her personal documents, electronics, and any property titled to her. If you interfere, we add it to the record." Mom's mouth tightened. "You're really going to do this to your own mother?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I just walked past her. Upstairs, my room looked untouched, like the house had tried to reset the scene. But my desk drawer was slightly open. I pulled it out. Empty. My birth certificate, gone. Social security card, gone. The folder of tax returns, gone. Ray's breath went sharp behind me. Mom appeared in the doorway. Looking for something? My skin went cold. Where are my documents? Mom smiled like she'd been waiting for that question. I put them somewhere safe. I turned and looked her dead in the eye. Anything of mine you keep is theft, I said. And it's on record now. Her smile flickered, just a fraction. Good. I grabbed my laptop, my passport from the safe box I'd hidden behind books, and the framed photo of Dad that Mom always said made the hallway too sad. On my way down, I stopped at the family photo wall. I didn't rip anything down. I didn't scream. I just took one picture. Me and Dad at the county fair, his arm around my shoulders. Mom's voice followed me, low and bitter. You're going to regret humiliating us. I paused at the threshold and looked back once. No, I said. You're going to regret assuming I'd stay quiet. Then I walked out. The door closed behind me, and it sounded like a boundary being built. That night, at Ray's kitchen table, Danica slid a final document toward me. No contact notice. All communication through counsel. Sign, she said. Then we send it. If they contact you directly, we document. If they show up, we escalate. I signed with steady hands, because something had shifted. Not just in court, in me. Ray's laptop chimed, credit freezes confirmed, new accounts disputed, fraud alerts set. My phone stayed silent for the first time in days. No family group chat, no unknown number, no threats disguised as concern, just quiet. I walked to the window and looked out at Ray's street. Ordinary, dim, safe. And for the first time since the funeral, I let myself feel it. Grief. Not the weaponized kind they threw at me. The real kind. I went back to the table and opened Grandma's letter again. Just the first line. Baby girl. Ray sat beside me, shoulder touching mine like a promise. Danica packed her binder, already moving on to the next fight. Friday was the public part, she said. Now we clean up the damage. I nodded. Because the payoff wasn't just the judge denying them. It was me finally understanding what family meant in this house. It meant obedience. It meant silence. It meant handing over my life so they could manage it. And I was done. I typed one last message, short, clean, and sent it through Danica for the record. I will not meet. I will not discuss. Do not contact me directly. Any further attempts to control my finances, my identity, or my freedom will be handled through the court. Then I blocked every number I'd ever answered out of guilt. I didn't feel dramatic. I felt clear. Like stepping out of a room where the air had been poisoned so slowly you didn't notice until you could finally breathe. End of part 10:10.